What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Channel. My name's AJ Gels. How y'all doing? We are back once more with the weekly show, episode 132, 125 in the rear view. Oh, we're looking ahead to now is 150. Jeez, it's doesn't feel like that long. Another thing doesn't feel like that long. I think we've passed the 3-year mark for the channel. If not, we've not passed it. We're getting right up on it. I mean, jeez. Felt like a short time, but golf claps for me. I won't get lost reminiscing like an old man. On to today's show. We're gonna be talking for the first bit with RDR2 coming out next week. Can't wait. Got my pre-order done. I got the $100. I'm actually getting it a physical copy this time. Steel bookcase and everything. Pretty pumped up for that. Other than that, then we got some smaller news stories from the week that we'll be talking about. Do not keep looking for a whole bunch of uploads today. I am going to be out of town. I have a big work conference thing that a lot of people in my office are having to go to, so I will not be at my computer to upload. So I'm gonna get this up early. I know, shocker. This is actually on time this week. Actually, I guess it's the video's being put up early, not on time. Either way. So that's why there's not a lot of uploads today. And beyond that, let's hop into things. And actually, before I get into the trailer, there is a bit of RDR2 news that I did want to address. I tried writing about this. I just couldn't get into the news enough to write about it because, in all honesty, I just don't care about this topic. It's the whole we're seeing a lot of gaming press go off on one of the higher ups on the Red Dead team said something about him and the writers and whatnot working those 100-hour work weeks or whatever. And I'm sure people have seen this on Twitter or whatever if they follow gaming news. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, he came out and clarified, said it's him and the writing team, and just trying to make sure the game's exactly what they want. Rockstar also gave, I think it was a couple days ago, and they gave permission to a lot of their employees to come out and talk about their experiences, and a lot of them are saying, look, I've never been asked to work over 50 hours, and anytime that I do overtime, I get compensated extra for overtime, and all this stuff. I mean, sure, some of it does seem a little grueling. I mean, say you work a 9 to 5, say you work, okay, so 9 to 5, you don't do any overtime, 5 days of work a week. That's 40-hour work week. So it's about 10 more than a normal 9 to 5 and all that. I get where people are coming from. You don't want people to burn out. You want to make sure everything's, that people aren't being overworked and all this. And I get that. Yet in my stance, if it's in your contract, it's legal in the state state or country that the company's in. You knew up front what you were getting into. I mean, crunch time, and the fact that a lot of teams get laid off right after a game is done and they get brought back for another game. This kind of stuff everybody wants to say, oh, well, it's the dark side of game development. Well, yeah, but I mean, it's also, I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, it is a very commonly known thing. I just don't get it. If that's going to hold you back from doing this job, then why are you in this industry? Go take your programming to something else. My cat just tried to jump up onto my desk. I blocked him and he fell down. He was looking at me mad and walking away. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. It's just I feel for the people. Yet again, I'm seeing a whole bunch of the employees coming out and saying, look, we're being allowed to say what we want about this, and they're all saying, I don't have a problem with it. Just seems like it comes down to who you are. It seems like there are the two sides to it. There's very few people in the middle. It's either this is just kind of what it is, and this is the kind of the price you pay to get great games, and then there's the people who think, oh, well, no, it's terrible. Like I have a guy I work with, actually, I was talking with this about, and he doesn't like it. He thinks, he wants them to pull back and not release so many games, and I disagree with that, mostly because I think if we don't do stuff like this, I think Red Dead 2 would have taken even longer to come out, and I don't want to wait. I want it now. Now, again, it's just, it comes down to where you sit on the whole issue, and I think it's part of the industry. Look, I'm not going to say like you should be working 24/7. There are extremes that go beyond things. That's why I say as long as it doesn't break labor laws, as long as you're being compensated for overtime, and everything like that, well, then I don't got a problem with it. And in all honesty, I don't really have a problem with it. So that's my take on it without having to read an article or whatever. So let's get into this. This is the launch trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2. Fairly short. What I really liked about it is we really get a look at Dutch Vanderland in this game. I mean, we saw him a little bit in Red Dead 1, but we never really got to really interact with Dutch. I mean, mostly we already saw him when he was crazy, and I think this one we get to see him slip into that role of the Dutch that we knew in Red Dead 1. Now, I mean, we've also heard from Dutch more, he's just quoting people, and this one we actually get to hear him talk to Arthur and actually interact as a character. So, thank you, game or computer. Sorry about that. I really hate it when my computer does that in the middle of a video. All right, let's watch this.
One more big score. We got enough money to leave. What do you think?
Nothing means more to me than this game. I would kill for it. I would happily die for it. I wish things were different. But it weren't us who changed.
Trust me, Arthur. Just one more.
That's always a goddamn trade.
I don't want to kill all these folk, Dutch. Just you.
What about loyalty?
Loyal to what matters.
Do as you're goddamn told.
It is us or him.
Red Dead Redemption 2, coming October 26th, rated M for mature.
Awesome. I really love this whole thing. Nope, don't want that to start playing. I really like that trailer. It's like I said, like I really dig the getting to see Arthur and Dutch actually interact. I mean, granted, even then we didn't see Dutch a whole lot in this game. I'm really hoping he plays a really big part in this. But I like this whole, him kind of pitching Arthur. Come on, man, just one more big score. That's all we need. We just need that one. Just that one more. It's always one more score. I think that's going to really drive that rift between Arthur and Dutch. I think at times, he was saying it wasn't the gang that changed, it was you. So he's talking about Dutch's. I think as John Marston put it, Dutch kind of like descended into madness in the later parts of the gang. So I think that's going to be really cool to see. I really curious to see what happens to Arthur himself. I mean, does Arthur get away clean, or does I think they're going to kill him personally. That's the Rockstar way. I think they're going to kill him. But the game looks, again, the trailer looks sweet and all that. I love all the little hints and pieces. I also want to really get to know the members of the Vanderland gang. I think that's going to be one of the most fun things to do. I noticed a small little thing on Twitter. I put this out on my I retweeted this. There we go. So if you want to find this, go to Twitter and scroll through my timeline, find this, because I cannot find this video anywhere else. But it really shows some stuff that I kind of want to riff off of. Okay. So again, this whole thing, execute heists ranging from large banks to train robberies. I still want to know how much of these heists and everything, how much freedom do we have in this? Is it going to be like GTA 5 where we actually get to have a hand in planning these? And I mean, that would actually kind of make sense, because Arthur is I don't want to say he's Dutch's second in command, but he's basically their like head enforcer. Like he's their main like gunman. So I would think that Arthur would have some sort of say in the planning of these heists. So I mean, I'm really curious to see if we get a similar mechanic to GTA 5 where we can actually plan out how we want to engage with these activities. Yeah, we've seen those. I like that we can fire warning shots. Things like dancing, drinking, card games, duels. I don't know why, really, I'm excited to use a canoe and fish. The whole consequences thing, townsfolk, lawmen. Yeah, we've seen all this stuff before, but I'm really curious to because there's horse permadeath, and there's horse testicles in the game that apparently it's been confirmed the horse testicles will actually shrink in the cold. Like your bond with your horse really matters. There's so much just like weird little details in this game that I can't wait to see. It's gonna be a whole hell of a lot of fun. But before we get into our next little topic, we have an article on Game Rant that I found really interesting, that apparently Red Dead Redemption 2 is releasing on 2 discs. Now that's not something we have seen this generation. This is from earlier this week. A few other outlets, I think I also saw IGN pick this up. Let's get into this a little bit. So much has been made of Red Dead Redemption's 2 rather large file size as of late, with its PlayStation 4 version requiring 105 gigabyte minimum. Actually, I think that's changed, because I think in a recent thing I'd have to go dig on my Twitter. You know what? Actually, let's actually let us dig on the Twitter to that install size. There we go. I'll include this article too, saying that we're using it as a reference if you would like to read it. All right, now that that's loaded. Sorry, the loading of this page took a second. I would have included this in the show. I just didn't think that a full article on the Red Dead 2 file size would be that interesting. But let's read this paragraph here. This is on GameSpot, by the way. According to the support page, Red Dead Redemption 2 weighs in at 99 gigabytes on PS4. You'll need to have even more room if you're going digital, as the installation process will require an additional 50 gigabytes on top of that. So on PS4, it's 149 and 107 on Xbox One, or 149 on PS4 if you're going digital. If you're going physical, like I am on this one, 99. Jesus Christ, it's a big fucking game. All right, back onto this. So 105 gigabyte minimum, and the Xbox One version having an approximate left 88.57 gig. Now it appears as if all that data is going to need a little bit more extra space for the game's physical launch, as the forthcoming open world Western title looks to be releasing with 2 separate discs. According to the back cover, the physical iteration for the Japanese version of Red Dead Redemption 2, those who purchase the game's physical iteration for PlayStation 4 will receive 2 Blu-ray discs on which to play the title. Should this be the case for PlayStation 4 copies in Japan and around the globe, then one can presume it will be the same for Xbox One version as well. However, it's important to note that has yet to be confirmed by Rockstar at the moment. While Red Dead Redemption 2 releases on 2 discs, it definitely speaks to the huge size and scale of the title. It won't be the first game this generation to have physical copies get sold on 2 discs. After all, Middle of Earth Shadow of War Definitive Edition launched with 2 discs when it came out earlier in August for this year, plus the BioShock Collection and Batman Return to Arkham also had more than 1 disc in the box. Well, yeah, but also these 2 were, collections. So it would be the multiple BioShock games and the different Arkham games, whatever. All things considered, with just a little more than a week left to go before Red Dead Redemption 2's release, fans are undoubtedly eager to simply get their hands on a copy of the game just so they can finally explore what Rockstar is touting to be its largest map ever created. So whether it's sold on a single or multiple discs, as long as the title offers folks as much bang for their buck as possible, then players should be pleased once it finally comes out. RDR2, October 2016. Or October 26, 2018. There we go. Yeah, I just found this interesting that it's going to be a 2-disc. I mean, I didn't know that Shadow of War came out on 2 physically, but very uncommon in this generation. I mean, I think we already knew this game was going to be massive, but geez, every time I keep hearing about the file size, it's just going to be bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. This is going to be absolutely nuts. I can't freaking wait. I cannot freaking wait for Red Dead Redemption 2, but all right, let's move on. Let's look at something else. Article on IGN by Nick Santangelo. I can never pronounce this guy's name. Battlefield 5 has a German perspective war story, but it's not a hero story. Let's see here. Following yesterday's detailing of several of Battlefield 5's Allied Forces campaign missions, DICE dropped the big one. Battlefield 5 has a war story that takes place from the Axis powers perspective. If you're, I haven't seen this stuff just because I'm kind of leaving that. I'm leaving the campaign missions and everything for BF5. I'm kind of leaving that just until I play it. I want to, because I really enjoyed them in Battlefield 1, so I really just kind of want to experience Battlefield 5, just kind of fresh. Speaking with Eurogamer, franchise design director Daniel Berlin detailed Battlefield 5's The Last Tiger war story, which puts players in control of a German soldier inside a Tiger tank. A DICE representative was clear to say, however, that the German soldier is not a Nazi. In fact, one of the biggest themes in the story is the tank crews questioning the Nazis' goals, even as they fight for them. Whatever. I think that's something for social for the social climate we live in now. You sell and you're going to be a German soldier. I actually really like this idea. I've seen a lot of people actually pitch World War II games like, come on, let us play as the Nazis, like or as the Germans. I think I should rather say, because it's not all Germans were Nazis, not all Nazis. Yeah, not all Germans were Nazis. There we go. But no, I think I put out on Twitter about this article when I retweeted it. I think I said, if done right, this could be really cool. Really kind of getting that idea of the German soldier questioning the idea of the Nazis, and because if I remember my World War II history correctly, a lot of Germans didn't know that the stuff with the concentration camps and all the really fucked up shit the Nazis were doing. They didn't know about that. I mean, they maybe had some willful ignorance, kind of kept their head in the sand, but for the most part, they were just living under a more authoritarian rule, but they didn't know the really messed up stuff that the country was doing. I think that this idea for this story could be really cool. I mean, granted, putting them in a tank, kind of having you be like this tank platoon, or in this tank thing. We did that in Battlefield 1, although I have a feeling they're going to have a tank one. They're going to have one for flying a plane. There are going to be a lot of similarities between the war stories between Battlefield 1 and 5, but I definitely like this idea. And I quote, "You may deny the actions you made, but even if you deny them, you have to live with the consequences," said Berlin. All actions have consequences, even in war, so that's an ongoing theme throughout the whole thing. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I hope that mantra helps you understand some of what I mean when I say it's not a hero story. It's really about this tank crew going to war in this crazy machine, and they start to actually question why they fight, end quote. I love the idea. The mission came about for two reasons. Berlin said that a number of Battlefield 1 players requested a war story from the German perspective. Additionally, Battlefield 1's tank mission was one of the most popular war stories. Really? Huh. And I quote, "There's a set of tanks you can have, but there's one tank I would claim is what the Spitfire is to the planes, the Tiger tank," said Berlin. "It's almost a legend, the Tiger tank. There are stories like that Allied soldiers were told to retreat if they saw one. Do not engage. The gun itself is as long as a full Sherman tank, so we knew this vehicle was a tank that we needed to make a war story of, and of course that comes with a German perspective," end quote. Yesterday, DICE revealed that players will take control of French, English, and Norwegian forces in Battlefield 5's campaign. From what IGN has experienced of them, Battlefield 5's war stories are better than Battlefield 1's. I believe that Ryan McCaffrey was the one who did the article on that for IGN. Again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers and really just trying to go in blind, because like I said, I really like the war stories in the first one, but I like this idea because I think this is a really neat idea, really putting players in the position of these characters in this war. I don't think it's really been done before. I'm not saying it's the first time, because I don't actually know that for certain, but I don't know many franchises that really have said, hey, we're going to put you in control of German soldiers during World War II, and we're going to tell a story in this narrative, and I think this is the best way to do it. I think it's a little bit of an obvious. You're going to do Germans in World War II as your main characters. Yeah, it's always, of course, you're going to be doing them questioning the Nazi regime sort of story, just because I think doing a story of, hey, you're going to be a full-blown Nazi fighting in World War II, I think that's going to turn a lot of people off the game. But, you know, like I said, if the writing's good, everything done well, I think this is going to be a really neat idea. Going to be really fun. All right, moving on. We have an article on Eurogamer by Emma Kent. This is about the Quiet Man DLC. Now, the Quiet Man coming out November 1st. It's that game being done by Square Enix. I think it's like $15. It's like 3 hours or so. Where you play as a deaf man. I really like this concept. It kind of reminds me of Perception from Ken Levine's studio. That game, that first-person horror game where you played the blind woman. Really neat concept. And I think they're doing something interesting for your second playthrough, which is the Quiet Man's second playthrough will add sound in a game about deafness. Hit the wrong note. See, I disagree. I think this is a great idea. It seems a little odd to instantly undermine your game's central selling point. Nonetheless, that's exactly what's happening with Square Enix's new title. See, right from the start, I disagree that this is undermining their game's central selling point. But you know what? I'll wait to the end, and you know when we get into more of this. The Quiet Man, which is due to release on PC and PlayStation this November, centers on the journey of a deaf protagonist as he searches for a kidnapped songstress in a dark city. According to the game's Steam page, one of the key features of the game is that players can, and I quote, experience the world in the way Dane does, end quote. In other words, without sound. How strange is it then that the game is receiving a post-release update which will add sound and speech on a second playthrough? See, I think that's completely... I think that makes perfect sense, and I actually like that they're doing this, personally. Now, if you read the Steam page, one of the things that it says is that a big point of this game is for you to, because we're not going to get subtitles, we're not going to get audio from dialogue. It's up to us to kind of decide what the story of the game is, kind of our own interpretation. But I really like this idea that I think this is going to be about a week afterwards. That she puts it here, like the truth, the real story that the developers wanted to tell you, and I can kind of compare how I interpreted things to how it really was. I think that actually, even that, I think it maybe adds an extra layer to things. It actually makes it, how to put this? It actually makes it so we get to understand what what a deaf person like Dane will experience when he can't hear. I'm trying to think how to say this. I think this is going to show us that when you're having to use all visual cues, how your interpretation can vary from what is said. I think that's really, really cool. And I do not mind this. I mean, plus it gives me an excuse to play the game twice. Yeah, I really like this. Let's see here. I didn't read this paragraph yet. The optional mode, which was revealed in a recent Japanese live stream via Gamatsu, is due to arrive 1 week after the game's release. The Quiet Man's Steam page description explains that the first playthrough will have, and I quote, very little distinct audio and no subtitles, end quote, leaving it up to players to, and I quote, make up their own interpretation of the story, end quote. The second playthrough, therefore, is supposed to reveal the truth by introducing the full dialogue. From the information released so far, the update seems a little odd. It means losing the game's key feature, but in turn could interest players who want to discover the full story and other options they could have taken. See, although I think that is a good point, though, that it does lose the key feature, and it does... Adding this, it's not like once you play it this way, you can only play it with sound from then on. I'm sure you can choose which one you want to play with, but... You are technically correct. It does kind of lose the key feature, because I think everything we've seen of the Quiet Man, it looks like just a typical brawler without the whole caveat of Dane being deaf. But even then, I still think it's a great idea to add this. It gives us a little bit of... It gives us a little bit more of a little bit more of a context of what the developers were going for, and I again, I don't have a problem with it. I'm one of these people who likes that we're going to see what they intended for us. To me, it does seem a little jarring, as deafness is hardly something that can simply be turned on or off for many people in real life. Great, okay, it's a video game, lady. Moreover, will the game mechanics become boring when the game's unique theme, a lack of sound, is removed? Yeah. Dare I invoke its name, but the game sounds ripe for ludonarrative dissonance when a game's story and mechanics clash. God damn it. Just write that then. Why do you have to write Look, I like using big words too, but God damn it, if I ever use that, throw me off a mountain. It's obviously difficult to form a judgment without trying The Quiet Man, so I'll be intrigued to see whether this is handled well when the game is released on November 1st. Sounds strange. See, I disagree wholeheartedly with that. Because again, I think this is an optional mode. You don't have to play it. You can play it all with the deafness. I think that's the main thing. That's the main way this game is meant to be played. This is an optional mode for people like me who maybe want to see, hey, what's the full context of everything? What really was happening that I was completely misinterpreting? I'm so curious about that, so I actually want to play both modes. I'm just as excited to play it without sound as I am with. I think there can be a lot of really cool things in this. So I totally disagree with the writer, but again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Tell me what you guys think. All right, moving on to our next last article. This website I don't really use very often, but I like the reporting on this. Skybound CEO aims to finish out The Walking Dead with 100% former Telltalers. Article Emma Kidwell of Gamasutra. CEO of Skybound Games, Ian Howe, and former creative director at Telltale, Kent Muddle, held a Reddit AMA yesterday to shed light on the future of The Walking Dead, the final season, following the vague comments recently provided by Skybound on how the deal with Telltale will shape up. God damn it, cat. Comes up, sits next to me, and starts biting me. Skybound, owner of the Walking Dead franchise created by Robert Kirkman, reached the deal with Telltale earlier this month to finish development on The Walking Dead, the final season. While the terms of the deal are still being fleshed out, Skybound has confirmed the members of the original development team will be brought back to finish the project. Nice to know we have confirmation on this. I mean, this isn't technically new news. We knew that they were trying to do this, but it's nice to know that this is actually happening. The AMA also confirmed that the scripts of episodes 3 and 4 are being kept, so the writers of the original vision for the ending won't be scrapped. And again, something else I like. I'm really glad that it's not that they aren't going to be doing a that they aren't going to do half the season with different writers and just bring in a totally new team for 3 and 4 just to say, hey, let's go in a totally different direction. It's nice to know that the way the series was intended to be finished is how it's going to end. I like that, and I'm glad that that's what they're being kept with. I read bits and pieces of the. You know what? No. Okay. Never mind. Everything that to do with that she covers in this article. I do have a bit of the AMA that I did read that I'll go to at the end here. See here, and I quote, regarding the story, the process of developing the narrative isn't changing. There is a long-standing collaboration between writers and Skybound over story approval, and all the same people will still be involved, end quote, Howe explained. When asked about how the transfer of employees from Telltale will work, Howe maintained that the team will work directly for Skybound to complete the game, although he couldn't provide more detail, and I quote, the plan is for it to be staffed 100% by former Telltale staff, he wrote. The only time we look elsewhere is if we can't fill a particular role from former Telltale people. I can't speak. End quote. He goes on to describe the role of Telltale staff within Skybound, noting that the transition is a difficult and slow-going process. And I quote, in the development of any game, it's often not a fixed team. People roll on and off of projects all the time, depending on when the game is at in its development cycle, and this is no different. Howe writes. That means there are people who were on the team who were close to rolling off onto something else. It's unfair to ask someone to come back and do a couple weeks' work, especially if that would get in the way of another job offer. So this is just one example of some of the challenges we face, end quote. One Reddit user asked what players should expect for a slight delay on episodes 3 and 4 of the final season. Oh, never mind. I guess she does cover this. I didn't remember covering this. And I quote, "I would guess this is everyone's number one question. What I can say is the team is not currently working on the game, and until we're back into production, it's going to be nearly impossible to give an accurate answer," end quote. Howe said, "What I can say is that we will announce new dates as soon as we know what they are. There is no reason for us to hold that information back, so it will be public immediately that we can talk about it with confidence," end quote. After being asked if there was a possibility the third episode would drop by the end of 2018, Howe seemed optimistic, saying, "I'm going out on a limb and will say yes. I fully expect episode 3 to be this year, and I'll be very disappointed if we can't make it happen," end quote. The entire thread provides more information about Skybound's hopes for the partnership, also provides some behind the scenes on how Telltale's episode was developed. Be sure to read the entire AMA here. And again, as always, links will be in the description. Yeah, well, I mean, they took away what I was about to go on to at the very end, because I read bits and pieces of the AMA, and that was something that stuck out to me, that they're trying to get episode 3 out before the end of the year. So then I would guess if they can really get rolling, I think the final episode would be maybe late January, if I'm being optimistic. I'd guess though sometime February and March would probably be a better assumption. But again, it's nice to see that the original team is working on this. I'm glad these people are getting a chance at and not only finishing this project, but they're also working. That these people aren't. Because I think the way that Telltale laid people off was really kind of shitty. I do think that you should give people a heads up. Hey, we're about to have these massive layoffs. I think that's important. It's important to say that stuff and not just basically just drop everyone. So I'm glad they're getting a chance to finish this for not only the fans, that they're getting some work out of this and all that. I think this is great all around. Finally some happy news to come out of Telltale. So granted, it didn't technically involve Telltale, but you know what I mean. All right, moving on to the final article. Days Gone delayed to April 2019. Article Andrew Goldfarb, IGN. Days Gone has been delayed until April 26, 2019. In a post on the PlayStation blog, SIEA marketing vice president Assad Kizilbash wrote that Sony, and I quote, decided to move the release of Days Gone from the crowdfunded February timeframe into April. While the studio is eager to see Days Gone in the hands of fans, Bend Studio will take the opportunity to further polish Days Gone, he added. Days Gone was previously scheduled for February 22nd, 2019. The game was originally due out this year, but was delayed to 2019 back in March. Well, yeah, but it was originally... God damn... They said that back in March. This game has... We've known about this game for a while now, and it's been... Oh, yeah, it's like kind of like early 2018 was what people were expecting. Then 2018, it's pushed back to 2019. This game keeps getting pushed back. Yeah, son of a bitch. I just want the fucking game. Days Gone was originally revealed at E3 2016. At the time, we saw a behind closed doors demo featuring the unique horde mentality of the game's zombie-like enemies, Freakers. A year later, we noted some similarities to Horizon Zero Dawn's open world. Most recently, we finally got our hands on Days Gone and noted it felt a lot like The Last of Us Jr. I'm not surprised about that. While we haven't heard of much since then, the delay could be one reason why Sony decided not to hold PSX in 2018, noting a lack of new content to reveal. For much more on Days Gone, all that stuff. Okay, so this is basically just kind of the broad strokes. A lot of people on the blog post, though, were giving credit to the developers because they were honest about this and saying, look, okay, we're going to get a little bit more polish on this. But for the most part, it's because the 22nd in particular is extremely crowded. The 22nd is also having Metro and what's the other one? Anthem. I don't know why I was forgetting Anthem. Both of those games alone are coming out on the 22nd. Then at the end of January, we're going to be seeing the the Resident Evil 2 remake, Kingdom Hearts 3. There's still some other stuff coming out in February. I mean, it's just a crazy time. So pushing it back a couple months, especially for a brand new IP to fight against something like Anthem, which is, I think, has a lot more buzz than Days Gone, just because I think Days Gone has been pushed back so much. And compared to something like a remake of Resident Evil 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, those are two massive names. And then the fact that Metro is also a fairly big franchise and people are pretty excited for Exodus. I'm not surprised to see Days Gone get pushed back, and I think that's a smart decision and all that. So, all right, well, I feel like I rushed through this, even though I'm looking at my time frame. It's been about 36-ish minutes, but so I'm thinking about everything I have to do tomorrow. So if I seemed rushed, I apologize. It was not my intent. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, Facebook, Twitter, the website, minds.com. Links, all that stuff is in the description. Like, comment, not already. Please subscribe to the channel. Tell me what you guys thought. And until next time, my name's AJ Gels, the Something Game Channel. I'm out.